It started, as many stories do in the vastness of space, with something quiet, a subtle shift, a whisper carried on invisible waves, reaching us from a world nearly 3 billion miles away. It was Neptune, the distant blue sentinel, tucked in the farthest corner of our solar system, cold, forgotten, and supposedly well understood. But sometimes the things we think we know best are the ones that betray us the deepest. For decades, Neptune lived in the shadows. It was the shy sibling, eclipsed by Jupiter's storms and Saturn's rings. Scientists told us it was a calm ice giant, cloaked in freezing gas and predictable storms. There were no surprises waiting there, they said. Just more cold, more silence, more of the same. But that silence, it wasn't absence. It was waiting. The first sign came not in the form of pictures, but pulses. A strange, irregular hum captured by instruments designed to listen to the faintest echoes of the universe. NASA's probes didn't stumble on it. They were looking, yes, but not for this. What they heard wasn't static. It had rhythm. It had a beat, a planetary heartbeat, but no one could explain it. And then came the pictures. A few years ago, for the first time in over 30 years, we got a new look at Neptune's rings. That moment felt like brushing dust off an old photograph, only to realize the face staring back at you had changed. The rings weren't static. They moved. They pulsed. They clustered, like something alive, rearranging themselves in ways gravity alone shouldn't allow. It was like Neptune had grown restless, like it was twisting, trying to tell us something. We ignored it. At first, because how could something so distant, so cold, so silent, be alive? But the data wouldn't stop coming. What once seemed like tiny errors, little glitches in the models, started to form a pattern. A magnetic field, skewed so dramatically from its axis it looked broken. But worse still, it was moving, changing, as if something inside Neptune was fighting for control. And deep beneath those thick, swirling clouds, something was. They thought the planet's core was frozen solid, locked away in a prison of pressure and ice. But new readings shattered that assumption. Instead of stability, they found chaos, a turbulent mix of exotic forms of ice and strange superheated materials that shouldn't exist together. It was no longer a world frozen in place. It was boiling from the inside, its core surging with unpredictable energy. Imagine that for a moment. A world we thought we knew, suddenly alive in the dark, sending pulses through space like cries. Not for help, but of transformation. And then, Neptune's skies began to change. Infrared cameras picked up bursts, flashes, explosions of light that lasted mere seconds, but held within them more energy than we could fathom. Storms rose and vanished with no warning. Emissions in wavelengths we'd never seen before licked at the upper atmosphere like ghostly fingers. It was as if the planet was speaking in a language we'd never heard. Not chaos, not madness, awakening. And that's when scientists felt it, that hum of unease. The realization that Neptune wasn't just acting differently, it was different, and maybe had always been. They began to revisit old data, reanalyze forgotten scans, and what they found shook the foundations of planetary science. Gravity anomalies, places where Neptune's mass didn't add up, where something deep inside was missing or hollow, a void, a wound. Was it formed in violence, a collision in the early days of the solar system? Something massive enough to not just scar, but rewire the planet from the inside out? No one knew. But what we did know was this: Neptune was not what we were told. And that's just the beginning. The deeper scientists looked, the more Neptune unraveled before them. Like an ancient book whose pages had been stuck together for centuries, it began to open, and every new chapter told a story stranger than the last. One of the most chilling discoveries didn't come from what they could see, but from what they couldn't explain. Temperature. Across Neptune's stratosphere, the outer shell of its gaseous body, there was a drop. Not a gradual cooling, Not the kind caused by distance from the sun or the slow slide of a season. This was sharp, sudden, almost violent. 10 full degrees. In planetary terms, that's not a breeze. That's a scream. The models couldn't explain it. None of them. And for the first time in years, scientists began to panic. Quietly. Because when a planet changes its temperature that quickly, without any solar trigger, it doesn't just disrupt our models of weather, it rewrites the way we understand planetary life. Entire theories on heat retention, atmospheric behavior, even chemistry itself began to blur. Neptune was cooling, not from the outside, but seemingly from within. What causes a giant to grow cold? Orias whispered of hidden convection currents spiraling in the deep, releasing or absorbing energy in strange new ways. But no one knew for sure. And Neptune wasn't giving up its secrets easily. As questions mounted, eyes turned toward another mystery. Triton. Neptune's largest moon had always been strange, orbiting backward, spewing nitrogen ice through frozen geysers, and spinning like a captured ghost. But now new readings suggested something even more peculiar. Its crust was changing. Craters, grooves, surface textures, all shifting, slowly but visibly. Some blamed Neptune's magnetic field, now distorted and unstable. Some suggested tidal forces, pulling Triton's insides like taffy, heating it up from afar. But there was another possibility too chilling to say aloud. What if Triton wasn't just reacting to Neptune's changes, but connected to them? What if in some way this moon and its planets shared a pulse? Across the solar system, moons like Europa and Enceladus have shown signs of interaction with their host planets, but Neptune and Triton were never thought to be so intimately tied. Now that assumption lay broken. Cracks were forming not just in icy crusts, but in everything we believed about isolation in space. It was never isolation, it was interdependence. And then, as if the planet wanted to strip away the last of our certainty, it sang. Not a song in any human sense, but a signal, a series of radio bursts unlike anything recorded before. They didn't follow the patterns of auroras, or solar interference, or lightning storms. These pulses were internal, sharp, sudden, repeating in odd intervals. Some scientists said they were nothing, echoes of energy bouncing inside a complex field. Others weren't so sure, because those signals didn't sound random. They sounded timed. And in the quiet rooms of observatories across the world, people listened, not just for answers, but for a pattern. Because if something pulses, and pulses in rhythm, it suggests something else entirely: intent. Some theorize these might be plasma loops, immense energy bands arcing inside Neptune's dense sky, forming and collapsing with explosive force. Others thought perhaps the planet's deep layers of strange ices and water were creating electrical feedback. But even these explanations felt thin. Each new theory was a bandage on a wound we didn't yet understand. The truth felt farther away than ever, and yet so close we could almost touch it. But Neptune wasn't done. Its rings, once considered forgettable, suddenly came alive. Where there had once been uniform faint dust, now there were patterns, clumping, ripples, movements that defied our understanding of Newtonian physics. It was as if the gravity around Neptune, the very force that holds moons in place and rings in line, was shifting, breathing. Gravity isn't supposed to change like that. Not on such short timescales. Not unless something massive inside is changing too. That's when the whispers began. Some scientists suggested that Neptune's gravitational field was fluctuating in response to internal disturbances. That perhaps deep within its core, masses were shifting, rising, falling, collapsing. Others theorized an even more radical idea, that Neptune's core might not be compact at all, but hollowed. A cavern, a wound, a scar from an ancient impact that still echoes through its structure. And if that were true, then everything we knew about planetary formation had to be reimagined. Planets weren't just born and left to freeze in place. They were evolving, wounded, reactive. And Neptune, once the quietest of all, was beginning to roar. But it wasn't just about Neptune anymore. Its reach was spreading. The Kuiper Belt, that distant halo of icy bodies at the edge of our solar system, was changing too. Observatories began noticing orbital shifts in some of the larger objects out there, deviations in their paths that couldn't be explained by gravity from the sun or known planets. Neptune's pull was changing, and that meant its influence was changing. Some of those shifts were subtle, a fraction of a degree, a small delay in timing. But in space, small isn't small. In space, small becomes history rewritten. What if Neptune was doing more than just reacting? What if it was shaping the far edge of our solar system, even now? What if its awakening was sending ripples, not just through its own atmosphere, but through everything around it? That idea haunted the minds of those watching because it meant the outer planets weren't frozen relics, locked in silent orbit. It meant they were alive. And Neptune? Neptune was waking up first. There's something deeply unsettling about realizing the quietest part of your world is the one you understand the least. For generations, astronomers had cast their gaze inward, toward the sun, the terrestrial planets, the rocky places where humans might one day walk. But the giants that drifted silently at the edge of our cosmic backyard, they were treated like footnotes, too far, too cold, too static. But now Neptune had broken its silence. It wasn't just pulsing with mysterious signals or flashing storms that appeared and vanished like memories. It was changing, deep inside, on the outside, everywhere. And it had been for longer than we realized. And so the question grew louder. What is Neptune? Maybe it's not an ice giant the way textbooks have claimed. Maybe that phrase, ice giant, is just a label we use when we don't truly understand something. Maybe Neptune is a survivor, a wound, a gatekeeper to truths we're only just beginning to grasp. Some researchers believe the anomalies we're seeing, the strange voids, the fluctuating gravity, the moving magnetic field, all point to something ancient. That long ago, Neptune may have collided with another massive body, that the quiet planet might bear the scars of a war waged before the Earth was even born. And if that's true, if Neptune was wounded in its infancy, then we're not looking at a stable world. We're looking at something rebuilding itself, or trying to. Its unpredictable nature, the strange ring patterns, the shifting magnetic poles, all of them could be signs of a planet still in flux, still haunted by its own creation. And that should terrify us, not because Neptune is a threat, but because it reveals how much we don't know about the universe we live in. Because if Neptune isn't what we thought, then maybe none of the outer planets are. Jupiter with its hidden depths, Saturn with its mysterious hexagon storm, Uranus with its sideways spin and internal cold. They are no longer background players. They are mysteries, each holding a piece of the puzzle we've been too afraid to complete. And still, Neptune pulls at us. It's not just about what it is now, it's what it connects to. The exoplanets, those strange worlds beyond our sun, so many of them fall into the Neptune class. Distant, gas-rich, often turbulent. For years, we looked at them through telescopes and thought, maybe they're like Neptune. But what if we had it backwards? What if Neptune is like them? What if this odd blue world at the edge of our system is the bridge, the key to decoding alien systems, alien climates, alien births? Neptune could be the closest thing we have to understanding other solar systems. And it's been right here, whispering, waiting, all along. And still, it keeps whispering. Triton's crust trembles, the rings pulse, the heartbeat, those strange radio emissions, continues in its uneven rhythm. And no one knows what's causing it. Not really, not yet. But maybe that's the point. Maybe Neptune isn't here to be solved like a puzzle. Maybe it's here to remind us that the universe isn't made to be easy. It's made to challenge us, to show us that every time we think we've reached the edge of knowledge, there's another ocean waiting, deeper, darker, more alive than we could have imagined. And Neptune is that ocean, a place of pressure, of wind, of lightless storms, but also maybe a place of rebirth, of movement, of something emerging. What happens when a world is no longer passive? When it defies the math? When it refuses to be silent? It becomes a mirror. It shows us how little we know. It dares us to ask again and again, What else have we gotten wrong? Neptune has been that dare. It has thrown every assumption we had back in our faces about magnetic fields, about planetary cores, about formation itself. It's reminded us that space isn't a quiet museum of dead objects, but a living, changing place. A place where storms rage in the dark and icy moons crack beneath invisible forces. And in the middle of it all, this blue giant with a crooked spin, a missing piece at its heart, and a song no one can explain. A planet we thought we understood. A planet we now realize we never truly knew at all. Because Neptune is not what we were told. It never was. And now that we've started listening, really listening, we may find that the story of our solar system isn't just unfinished. It's about to begin again.